This just shows the most dangerous thing about the Detroit Pistons, with multiple players elevated in their game being huge reasons why this team sits at the top of the Eastern Conference. We get insight coming from former players in Kenny Smith revealing the exact reason why this Detroit Pistons team is above any other team in the Eastern Conference and poised to go on a run to bring a championship back to the city of Detroit. We're going to break down everything you need to know from exactly what Kenny Smith said. The big reasons on this team is propelling above the rest of the standings and so much more. Now, the big thing is, and I do want to dive into multiple things, but one thing I do want to touch on, because looking at this stat, it is quite wild. Jalen Duren and Bob McAdoo in tonight's win. Duren becomes the first Pistons player since Bob McAdoo in 1980 to total 4 straight 25 plus point games and 10 plus rebound games. Now, I do want to give some flowers to Jalen Duren, especially in that win versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, where we did see Cade foul out and Jalen Duren, among multiple other guys, really stepped up in Jenkins, Thompson, multiple of these guys. But what Jalen Duren has brought to the table this season has been a huge success story for not only himself being named an All-Star, and we wish he got into the dunk contest, but a guy that has elevated this team and his game, which pushes them right to the top of not only the Eastern Conference standings, but the standings across the entire NBA. Now, diving into this, we did see coming out of TNT last night when Kenny spoke on multiple matters, but he said the Pistons frontcourt has such an athletic advantage. I think they're primed to win the East this year. Now, when looking at the standings, it feels obvious that the Detroit Pistons are sitting at the top on the backs of course, Jalen Duren and Beef Stew, who is currently suspended, but coming back soon enough. But looking through the standings, what this team has done, they sit 44-14 with a 75.9 winning percentage, the best win percentage against any team above 500% in the entire NBA, and taking a sizable lead on a lot of this. The Boston Celtics sitting 5.5 games behind. The Knicks sitting 7 behind. The Cavs, who they just beat, 8.5 behind. This just shows that the Pistons are not only sitting atop, dominating to hold the position, but they're taking a lot of leadway, and like we seen coming from Kenny himself, this is a team, and a lot of this, of course, Cade Cunningham, we know the season he's having. I don't need to go over the numbers, though I'll flash them because I love seeing the dominance, but we know this is the man that leads this franchise on the court when it comes to production, but a lot of it is deserving to be put on the backs of what the bigs have done. Now, we've seen Paul Reed, B-Ball Paul really step up, but looking at Jalen Duren, who's averaging nearly 19, 11, and 2 on his 67% true shooting, what Jalen Duren has done with this franchise has been outstanding. When looking at the numbers, 92nd percentiles across the league with points, 98th percentile in rebounds, true shooting 92, 94th percentile in field goal percentage, in blocks per game at 88. But diving farther into the numbers on what Jalen Duren brings to this team, the offensive rating in the top 8% across the entire NBA, 79th percent in the defensive rating, the rebounds all in the green, elite, almost in top 25 in every single stat. This just shows how big Jalen Duren has been for this team. Now listen, Jalen Duren's not going to be the guy to shoot you threes, but what we're seeing, and I like to look at this as a mini Shaq, someone that's going to dunk anything at the rim. Of course, Shaquille O'Neal, a big different player, but looking through the numbers on what we're seeing with Jalen Duren, of course, a guy that's going to be dominant every single night. Looking at the paint scoring, this is a guy that doesn't miss much around the rim, 71.1%, 49.4% in the paint. Of course, not a three-point shooter, but from mid as well. 46 on low volume. But what we're seeing out of Jalen Duren is what's bringing this team to the next level. Elite in paint scoring, 5 feet out, from 5 to 9 feet out. Even when you get to 15 to 9 and 20 to 24 feet, this is a guy that ranks 11th from 20 to 24 out. 98th percentile, again, not a huge volume of attempts, but he's shooting at 69 percent from those numbers. Jalen Duren has been a huge part on the depth of this team. I know everyone's going to talk about Cade Cunningham. Everyone speaks on Jalen Duren, guys like Ausar Thompson, Tobias Harris, Duncan Robinson, I'll say Caris LeVert because I know it's a meme around here at this point, but this is a team that has a lot of elite talent, and a lot of the guys get pushed behind Cade for exact reasons of him being an MVP caliber player, but it dives even further. Of course, Kenny spoke on not only that, but on the front court as a whole, which has a lot to do with Isaiah Stewart, who came out himself and said, listen, I'm the best defender in the NBA. We know Beef Stew went out to win Defensive Player of the Month. We've seen Ausar Thompson follow it up right after. I'm the best defensive player in the league. I love the quotes that come out from this guy, what he brings to the court. And when looking at it once again, of course, a smaller center throughout the NBA at 6'8", but when diving into the numbers, the offensive rebounding is quite high, ranked 120th. Of course, the defensive rating in the top 30% across the NBA. What we're seeing out of Isaiah Stewart is a big part, once again, on the success that this team brings. 61.9 true shooting percentage, 54 field goal. A 3-point is somewhat there time to time. It can be better, but overall, it just shows the dominance of this front court and what this team brings every single night. Of course, you have Cade Cunningham scoring. Jalen Duren was outstanding in the OT win. 33 points, tied to career high. We wish that went to 34. 16 rebounds and 3 blocks. That's against guys that have won. Of course, a depoy in Mobley. Jared Allen has having a good stretch. We don't care about the Cavs. The only thing we care about is how this team progresses and how they look against the rest of the NBA. Again, looking at the numbers, sitting on top of the entire league. By the way, above OKC, who just came off a championship run. But when looking at the schedule, of course, it's going to continue getting harder. The deeper you go, you're going to have to start resting a couple of guys. Not saying rest Adam Silver, don't come at me when I say that, but this is a team, of course, that is going to go against a lot of competition. You're looking at the schedule and what they have to face over the next couple of weeks. Of course, you can look at the wins. They lost versus the Spurs. They rang off wins against the Thunder, the Cavs, the Knicks, the Raptors, the Hornets, who were on a win streak. You take the next game versus the Magic, a Cavs, Spurs again. Those two back-to-back games, the Cavs versus Spurs, are going to get really interesting. You have a kind of soft schedule with 2 games versus the Nets over a 3-game span. So this is the perfect time to continue building off of what they've done. Continue to build off the season they're having. Of course, Beef Stew is going to get back in the lineup at some point. And you're also going to get a lot of the guys healthy. Hopefully Kevin Huerter starts to get more minutes. Hopefully Marcus Sasser does as well. But what is your guys' thoughts on this? What is your thoughts on Kenny Smith's quote coming out to say the front court is a huge reason on why this team is dominant? What is your thoughts on the backcourt of this team as well? Kevin Huerter is a new addition that hopefully gets in. Duncan Robinson has been outstanding as well. I'm pretty sure he's one of the top rim protecting wings in the NBA, which is almost absurd to say at this point. But let me know your thoughts on everything Pistons down below, because I love reading through it. But I've been your host, Mark Pye, and go Detroit basketball.